Hello everyone and welcome to my Bachelor Nation 24 channel. I hope everyone is having a wonderful day. Before we begin, please hit the subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up. Golden Bachelorette Chock Chapple's hometown date was a first in Bachelor history. The Golden Bachelorette star, Joan Vassos, went on 4 dates during her hometown's episode. During her visits to Guy Gansard, Pascal Ibby, Jordan Heller, and Chock Chapple's homes, she took in new sights and met many family members. But her date with Chock Chapple made Bachelor Nation history as a first for hometowns. Joan Vassos gets confirmation. On Wednesday, Joan Vassos went to all 4 of her final suitors' homes. She met many of their friends and family members. But one of the most important factors for Joan at this stage was to have confirmation that the men who moved forward could see a future with her. While she knew Guy Gansard and Chock Chapple's hearts were ready to accept her as a wife, she was unsure about Jordan Heller and Pascal Ibby. Although Chock was hesitant to tell her he loved her, he chose to give her the reassurance she was craving. Admittedly, he let his feelings out saying, "I'm falling in love with you." He knew he was risking a lot to wear his heart on his sleeve. She said, "Chock didn't hold back, he's all in." However, Chock's date made Bachelor Nation's history by taking Joan on a first for any of their series. Chock Chapple's hometown date was a first in Bachelor history. During the episode, The Golden Bachelorette showed Joan Vassos joining Chock Chapple in Wichita Chaos. Undeniably, Chock is going through a difficult time in his life. While the filming was full of fun and laughs, unfortunately, there were many tears as well. Joan shared with her suitors she wasn't sure she was ready to move on. But suitors like Chock were open and honest about their struggles with grief and helped her understand the journey was worth opening her heart. Sadly, Chock shared about losing his fiancée, Kathy, to brain cancer. Then, during the filming, Chock's mother, Dr. Jill Cobb, also lost her battle with stage 4 cancer. Undoubtedly, it was extremely hard for him because he had talked about how special he was and how much he wanted Joan to meet her. Although it was heartbreaking for him to leave, he chose to return knowing there was a great connection with Joan. When she arrived in Wichita, Chock let her know they would be attending a memorial service for his mother. This was an unusual choice and something that has never happened in Bachelor Nation's history. But Chock wants to share the event with Joan because it is something very important to him. Likewise, it gave her a chance to know more about that piece of his heart. Chock Chapple's date was important for him to share. Undeniably nerve-wracking, Joan Vassos attended a friend and family-filled event that was very close to Chock Chapple's heart. Unmistakably, Chock was so proud of his mother and had planned for Joan to meet her. However, with her untimely passing, that wasn't an option. But sharing the joy and sorrow of the memorial service gave Joan a better understanding of the wonderful woman that Chock looked up to. Likewise, it was a deep expression of acceptance of Joan to invite her to attend when the family was vulnerable and mourning. Among the outpouring of love were Chock's 2 kids, his father, and the father of his late fiancée, Kathy. During the memorial, the family planted a tree in her honor, and they spoke touching words about her legacy. Although not the conventional date, Chock wanted Joan to be beside him even in the dark hours. This experience let Joan know how much she was valued by Chock and accepted by his family. Admittedly, he began to cry during the end of the service and embraced Joan, who he says is his rock during the tragic time. Since Joan lived her worst nightmare watching Joan Vassos die, this is a reminder of strength in a partner during difficult times. Chock Chapple included Joan for a life-defining moment. Unmistakably, Chock Chapple's date wasn't the traditional romantic date followed by meeting family. Instead, she was bombarded with seeing all of the most important people in Chock's life at once. Furthermore, Joan mentions how overwhelming it was to meet so many people at the same time. Likewise, it was an emotionally charged time for the family. Some fans think it was a creepy date or even a snooze fest, but Chock's heart seems to be in the right place. For people who have survived grief, allowing someone to be present in those unpleasant moments is an act of trust. Joan understood it was a gift to be included with him and his family for such a life-defining moment. When Joan was wondering which of her suitors was ready to take the next steps, she had no question that Chock was being vulnerable with her. Likewise, Chock's family sees Joan bring out a different side of him. For the first time in Bachelor history, Chock Chapple's hometown date defied all expectations. Hometowns are a pillar of the franchise, where contestants offer a peek into their lives and families in a cozy home setting or a stroll through their childhood haunts. But Chock, he took it to another level. Chock, the lovable charmer with the infectious laugh and a mysterious glint in his eye, wasn't interested in a conventional hometown date. Instead, he invited Joan Vassos and the entire Golden Bachelorette crew to his family's unique historical estate, a 19th-century village preserved in time and brimming with stories. As the cameras panned over cobblestone streets and brick storefronts, viewers everywhere were captivated by the old-world ambience. Joan's jaw dropped the moment she stepped onto the property. She found herself surrounded by original Victorian architecture, complete with an old general store, a barber shop with one of those classic red and white poles out front, and even a tiny post office. "Welcome to my world," Chock said with a grin as he took Joan's hand. "I thought we'd step back in time, see things as my family has for generations." Chock's roots were as deep as the history in every brick of the village. His family had preserved this historic enclave for over a century, and Chock had spent much of his life keeping the village alive, volunteering as a guide and often helping with renovations. "This is where I come from, Joan," he explained. "It's not just where I live, it's who I am." Joan's eyes sparkled with excitement as she was led through each relic of Chock's childhood memories, though his date quickly turned into an adventure. As they strolled toward the general store, Chock pulled her inside and handed her an apron, much to Joan's amusement. "We're not just looking around," he said, chuckling. "We're going to do things the way they did back in the day." Joan got right into the spirit, restocking old tin cans of coffee and flour, packaging candy for imaginary customers, and even learning to use the antique cash register. Chock's easygoing nature was on full display as he teased Joan about her ringing up skills and shared stories of his mischievous childhood. Once the general store closed, Chock whisked Joan to the old schoolhouse, a single-room structure with creaky wooden floors and a single chalkboard at the front. Joan gasped as Chock sat her down in a student's desk and took on the role of teacher. With chalk in hand, he quizzed her on old-fashioned trivia about love and courtship, laughing at her puzzled expressions. By now, Joan had embraced every quirky twist of the date, but Chock had one more surprise up his sleeve. As the sun began to set, he led Joan to the edge of the village where a grand gazebo stood, overlooking the nearby lake. Flickering lanterns hung from every corner of the structure, and as they reached the center, a string quartet appeared seemingly out of nowhere to serenade them. "Joan, I know this isn't your typical hometown," he began, his voice lowering with sincerity. "But it's my home in every sense. I wanted you to see it all, to see me, the real me." Moved, Joan clung to his arm as he recounted family traditions passed down through generations, tales of love, resilience, and survival. For Chock, being part of the Golden Bachelorette wasn't just about love. It was a tribute to his family's heritage and an homage to the deep-rooted values that had shaped his life. The grand finale came in the form of an intimate dinner in the old town hall, set up like a feast straight out of a period drama. With candlelight dancing across the room, Chock and Joan shared a meal that blended both of their cultural backgrounds, symbolizing not just their love but the merging of their unique histories.